Welcome to another edition of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. I'm Jeff Goodman. He's Bob Ryan. And Bob, I've got this Alabama t-shirt on in honor of the Crimson Tide and Hoops, who are one of three right now. How about this? One of three high major programs that does not have a transfer leaving at this point. Every other high major program, it's UCLA, Michigan, Alabama, which is kind of apropos because all three had really good seasons. Everybody else at the high major level has somebody leaving as of today, and there'll be more to come. There's 1,250 total.
As many as who's got the 9?
The 9 right now. Texas Tech has 9. DePaul has 9. Minnesota has 9.
I don't know where to start with it, except this isn't the world I grew up in naturally.
Not the one I grew up in either.
No, it's not the world of 2 years ago at this point. Right.
And it's changing. It's changing, and not for the better.
It can't be considered to be good. What's the coaching fraternity? What are they saying about this?
They hate it. They hate it. But they knew it was coming. And you know, Jay Billis has been trumpeting this forever of you know, players' rights. And I understand that. Like, they should they have to sit out? You know, probably not, but you also have to try to balance what's good for the game and what's not. And I think next year you're going to have, my guess is over 50% of the players on every roster will not have been at that place the year before.
I don't know. I guess the ultimate thing is if fans can accept it, all right. You know,
what choice do they have? What choice do they have, Bob?
Well, they can stay, you know, they can say, I'm not interested anymore. I mean, I guess they're not going to do that, I guess. But you know, the whole idea of what it used to mean to be a fan of a team and watch a kid progress.
Yeah.
Can you imagine telling a kid now, a top, forget about 100, top 500 player, right? Top 1,000 player in America, high school right now. You can't play varsity next year because you're on the freshman team. There's a freshman team.
Good luck.
I mean, that is such an alien concept. That's like the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Or something to these kids. Yeah. And to think about the guys, you know, UCLA would have won another championship. There wouldn't be Texas Western because that was the best team in America, the UCLA with the team that they would have had that year in 65, 66 with Lou Alcindor, Lucius Allen, Mike Warren, etc. They were going to win. But anyway, so that's just unimaginable. It concerns me. I mean, it's craziness. I can't imagine being in the coaching fraternity. I can't imagine.
Well, they're saying now they're GMs. They're not coaches. They're general managers. You know, more than anything, because you can't prepare for what your roster is going to look like next year, especially if you're a mid-major, right? If you're a mid-major and you got a really good player, you know he's going to be, you know, he's going to be plucked. He's going to be plucked. Now, again, there might be some loyal kids, but most of them at the mid-major level, like Jason Preston's a good example at Ohio University this year. As you know, like had a great year, incredible point guard. They made the tournament. He didn't have a great game in the tournament. They lost, but you know, any high major would probably love him and is probably going after Jason Preston right now. But to my knowledge, he's staying at Ohio University, and that's kind of cool for the loyalty factor. But most of these kids that are going to be in his position are going to say, you know what? If I have a chance to go on the private planes and play in front of 15,000 and play at a high major on TV every night, I'm going to do it. And it's hard to blame them, Bob. It's hard to blame some of them.
Is there a coach left that can go into a home with a straight face and talk about academics, the school's academic situation, what you might major in, what
Tommy Amaker, maybe Tommy Amaker. You know, not many.
No, the farce of amateurism here has been shredded. It's completely shredded, right? It's just,
yeah. I mean, listen, name, image, likeness is coming in soon, and you know, I'm all for it. I'm all for these players again having opportunities. You know, even this new overtime league that I don't know if you saw the other day that Kevin Ollie is going to be coaching for kids in high school to be able to make some money. I'm all for it. Listen, I'm all for great opportunities as long as they're on the up and up. Like the LeVar Ball League was a bunch of crap. I mean, it actually ruined a lot of kids' lives and careers. They didn't get paid, and beyond that, they used their pro, they ruined their college eligibility to play in this league, and because they were considered professionals and were never able to play in college for something that was a complete farce and not well done. This overtime league is different. They got KD on their board, Jay Will, Kevin Ollie coaching. They got some good people associated with it. So, again, I'm all for kids having opportunities. But ultimately, again, is it good for the game of college basketball? No, it's not. Period. It's not.
Well, how many transfers did Baylor have in the top 8?
They had one transfer so far, and he's not in the top 8. He didn't play.
No, that they have on the roster.
On their roster. Yeah, they had Jared Butler could kind of be considered a transfer. He spent 2 months at Alabama. Davion Mitchell came from Auburn. Adam Flagler, Presbyterian. Maceo Teague, UNC Asheville. Right, so yeah, you had a bunch.
There you go. There you go. Well, it's just wild west, and we know it's just crazy. Now, we talked about this the last time. I'm going to throw it out there again because nothing yet has happened. Yeah. But Roy Williams, and his stated reason, we read between the lines.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm no longer the right man for the job.
Yeah.
And that's, and we interpret that this new world order, I don't want to deal with. I can't, I just don't want to deal with it. And you wonder how many others of the elder statesmen are going to be packing it in sooner rather than later because of this. Nothing else has happened yet, but maybe by next year.
I think it's going to happen. I think Kay, if you're asking me, I say Kay has one more year left. I say Boeheim has one more year left, and those guys call it a career after next season. Just to God, I don't have any.
No, it's
the way the game is going to evolve with the transfers and name, image, likeness, and I just think they're going to get frustrated and say, why am I doing this?
The name and likeness thing amuses me really because how many people are going to benefit from this ultimately? Is some kid at McNeese State going to benefit from this? Is some kid at Idaho State? Is some kid at College of Pacific? No.
Right.
They're not making any money. It's just, fine. So it's okay, do it. But people have this incredibly misleading notion that all schools are making money when we all know the reality.
Kids can make a little. Listen, if you're the star, I'll give you an example, like Tanner Groves. You remember the big kid who had 35 against Kansas in the NCAA tournament for Eastern Washington? So like Tanner Groves, he's transferring, but let's say he stayed at Eastern Washington. You can make a little bit of money at Eastern Washington. Like if you're a kid, honestly, if you're running a party at Eastern Washington on campus and you say, hey, Tanner, I'm going to pay you $200 if you come, and you tweet out you're coming. Well, and then you charge $20 at the door for everybody to come in, right? Mm-hmm. Like a kid like that, he can make some money, and maybe he'll make some money even locally with a car dealership. Maybe somebody will pay him $1,000 or a couple grand to do an ad or something like that, or a commercial for a car dealership out there. And now again, it's in Spokane, so maybe not, because they're going to be going after the Gonzaga players. So he might be the right.
But there's an example out there somewhere. Yeah. Okay.
Right. All I'm saying is some of these kids can make a little bit of money, but they're not bringing in, Jalen Suggs money. or Cade Cunningham money. Yes, Cade Cunningham's going to make some real money, like real money. I don't know what it can be without guardrails. Can Cade Cunningham legally, based on the fact that he's going to be the number 1 overall pick and his social media and presence and everything like that, could Cade Cunningham make a couple $100,000? Maybe. I don't know what the number will be.
Then we transfer.
It's minimal. It's a minimal group of players that we're talking about that are going to make real money.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. All right, let's move on to some of the NBA topics that we haven't hit on lately. Well, let's start on the most pressing, the most newsy, and that's Jamal Murray's torn ACL for the Denver Nuggets. That they're 34-20. They're a team that's been fun to watch. I mean, in the bubble, Murray was unbelievable last season. You got your boy Jokic and my boy Michael Porter Jr., who's coming. He's coming, and he's coming fast, Bob. Could this have been a team that did some damage in the playoffs? I say, why not? If they had avoided the Lakers, and right now they'd have to open against the Lakers. They're in the 4-5 matchup. I'm not sure it stays that way. Who knows right now?
No, you don't know.
And we'll talk about the Lakers and their injuries.
I mean, as soon as I saw it, first of all, you feel bad for anybody at any time that has something like this. And the second thing you think of is the ramifications for the team. And right away, I'm thinking, boy, there was a serious team. I mean, they're a team that could catch fire. They could catch fire. It's not a ludicrous projection that they could go to the finals. As they were constituted, particularly with the pickup they made at the trade deadline. That really gave them a dynamism and an extra dimension that they did not have. And then all of a sudden, so my question is very simply this: yes or no? Is this I'll call it a death sentence, but is this a fatal blow to a chance of serious playoff involvement?
Well, they're just probably not going to go anywhere in the playoffs now. That's the big thing. Is, like you said, Murray, Jokic, Porter, Gordon.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good. And you got some good role guys on that team too. Again, the biggest thing that you just have to keep thinking about right now is the Lakers, and are they going to be able to pick up where they left off when they get LeBron and AD back? Are they going to come back and honestly be well rested for the playoffs and be ready to go and back to 100%? That's the key. If they are, and they shake the rust off in time, because it looks like, again, they'll both be back here, fairly shortly. And if that happens and they shake the rust off and they're back to 100%, I mean,
you're talking, how much time is 10 games enough? Is I'm asking it 15, probably. 18 right now would be like, what is it, 18 or 19 left, something like that. But if they're back in a week or 10 days, I would like to think that should be enough in terms of the continuity.
Well, they played together last year, so it's not like this is their first year together. Now they've added Andre Drummond. It'd probably be nice for him to get some time with them.
Yeah, that's very definitely a big. By the way, that was a very good addition, I think.
I like Drummond. Again, for them, I love Drummond.
Yeah, he's not going to ask for the ball.
Nope, he's going to go rebound it. He's going to
go get it,
finish, and he's better than what they've had in the paint. Like that. That's the one thing I think he can actually play with AD. Because AD likes to stretch it a little bit.
Oh, I think so.
So those two can play together. Again, Drummond's a guy. He's still 27 years old. People forget.
I know. That's it. You right. That's the revelation. He's not 31 or 2. Which
he's 27.
Yeah, no, that's good. Now that's a big X factor. Is the continuity and the meshing with them.
Yes.
That we're going to all be curious to watch. There's no question. And the other team with similar mystery about how it's all going to shake out is that team in Brooklyn. And they win by 30 last night. Durant, what layoff? What games did I miss?
Ridiculous.
I said this. He makes the game look so easy.
Yeah, he does.
He's such a fluid, beautiful shooter, and just every movement, at 7 feet. And he comes in and he knocks down 4 out of 6 threes right away. And oh my God, and they win by 30. They're going to be fascinating, really. The question is, are they going to make a commitment at the other end? Are they going to put their hands on the pile? Okay, guys, this may not be fun, but we're going to do it this way. And we're not going to try to win 140 to 132. And we're going to, because, that's the question. Can they do it? Will they do it?
Do you want it to, you want that Lakers Brooklyn final? Or do you want anybody else?
I would say
anybody you want to get in the way of that.
Okay. There's a cloud. There would be a cloud hanging over Milwaukee and Giannis if they fizzle out this year. Who I want I always want Doc. Okay, so I would have to, be a Bostonian who would have to root for Philadelphia in that sense. So if anything that would bring, that would be good for Doc, I would not object to. So Philly would be fine with me, but I do think that
you want a Philly Nets Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
That would be entertaining.
Now I'm eliminating, of course, if the team that I sit 15 miles from right now puts it together, that all bets are off.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question, yes, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philly, Eastern Conference Final would be very good.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, to me, again, there's 4 or 5 teams. Actually, there's probably 6 teams that are intriguing in the East, in the top of the East, right? I mean, you want some combination of Philly, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and some other team in the Eastern Conference semis. I don't care who it is. Maybe it's Boston. Maybe it's Miami. Maybe it's Atlanta now. I mean, Atlanta's played good basketball.
Hot Atlanta, ever since the coaching change.
Yeah, I mean, give them credit. They've done a good job. And again, I think a lot of people, myself included, felt like Trae Young's always going to be a numbers guy on a bad team. But they got good players in Atlanta. So one thing I'll say is, like, they've done a nice job building that team to whereas, again, they've got some good young players. Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter, like, just good guys that fit in well, that just kind of know their roles and are only going to get better. And then you added your boy Lou Williams.
Yeah, that's no, they're. I'm glad to, because they've been just floundering for so long.
Yeah.
So long that with blah, and too much. That little run there back 10 years ago, but then Josh Smith and those guys, but they were never substantive. You know what I mean? But they had their more. Anyway, Atlanta, yes. The Miami, people suddenly got their eye on Miami is playing much better. And
well, since Jimmy Butler's been healthy, and obviously the move to pick up Vic, like, that was big. Miami's certainly I wouldn't want to play them in the first round. I mean, that's the thing. To me, it's like you got to get. I mean, you got to stay out of if you're like the Celtics or whoever. And I think now we'll start to see maybe the difference in the next 15 games, because people are going to play for spots. In terms of you don't want to finish in 7th or 8th and have to open against Philly or Brooklyn. You'd much rather have to deal. If you're the Celtics, you got to kind of stay in where you are, that 4-5, and face Atlanta, at least get hopefully one playoff series win. And then if you lose to Philly in the second round, it's not a horrible season. It's not where maybe they're calling for Brad Stevens' head here. But listen, the Celtics have been better. They've won 4 in a row, Bob. I don't know if you're bought in again to this team, but a huge win against Portland.
A good win against Portland, 6 out of 7. And all right, I'll start. Your guy, Jason.
Yeah.
53 points the other night.
Yeah.
Took over last night, 17-point third quarter on the road, right? If he plays the way that you and I both feel he should play,
sure,
and is capable of playing, going to the hoop as well as settling and playing the game the way he can play. Yeah. He's a tremendous player, and if he's going to play like this, then they're going to be fine. But there's an X factor. Is Kemba going to be a consistent force doing what he can do in the playoffs or not? And number one, you got to get him on the floor every night. Right. Number two, what player are you going to get? And if some nights he looks like it's hopeless.
Yeah, he's not the most consistent guy right now, and you're going to need that come playoffs. Like,
there's no backup. I mean, Marcus Smart's he's an entirely different player, not him. Pritchard, was an early season comment.
He's a good backup. He's a good 15-minute game guy.
Yeah, and he's going to have a solid NBA career.
Right.
You know, he may be the Alex Caruso of the East. I don't know.
I just want to see Fournier get back. I want to
That's
see him
it.
get
Fournier,
back.
that's the other. Excuse me. Oh, there was, he got pulses racing with a couple of his performances,
Right.
And exactly why they got him. You could see it, but they got to get him. And that's the other thing is there's got to be. They're another team that needs a little bit of time for the entire unit to get together, which gives them, so they can have a bench, which they haven't had, with any kind of potency, which is one reason why they were able to, they needed to get Fournier. They could be a force. They could.
I mean, can they? The question is, can they, at their A game, can they beat a Philly if they're playing them in the second round?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they haven't. Well, that's where Embiid, who doesn't. But Embiid's had some monster nights against them.
Yeah.
He has been the number one problem for them against Philly. Robert Williams keeps getting better and better, but that's a matchup. When you're doing the matchups, the check mark,
you don't like that
and
one.
the next to check goes next to Philadelphia.
Thank you.
So I mean, that's going to be interesting. But I'll tell you what, Robert Williams is showing why they were willing to invest in him. I'll say that.
Listen, he's got all the ability in the world. It's just putting it together and staying together for Robert Williams. If he can do that, I mean, listen, he doesn't have to play even with Embiid. He's just got to not let Embiid go for 40 and 20.
Right.
Keep him at 25 and 12, and that's fine. That's fine because again, it's not like Ben Simmons is a big time scorer. You got to win all the other matchups. You're not winning that one, but you got to win everything else, and they should. Like, to be honest, in every other area, in a way, they're as good, if not better.
Yeah.
So there's no reason when Fournier comes back that this team playing at their peak, which they haven't done. They just haven't done it all year. And again, they just added a key piece. But if they could somehow hit their stride at the right time, maybe they could make a run here and surprise some people. Because again, listen, they still have three guys that are all-star caliber players. Now, Kemba's not playing like it. Tatum certainly is again, and Jaylen Brown's been pretty solid throughout the year. So really, as we've talked about, it's really up to Kemba Walker whether this team has a chance to go deep in the playoffs. Period.
And he's willing. It's not, and his attitude doesn't. It's physical. It's completely, but without him being a significant force, no, that's it there. So, but they could. So you got to put them a little bit back in your mind, and just don't dismiss them if the things are clicking at the time they have everybody back, then look out.
So if I had told you before the season that the New York Knickerbockers would be 28 and 27 and looking down in the standings at the Indiana Pacers and Toronto Raptors, what would you have said?
That Tom Thibodeau is candidate for Coach of the Year. And that, I would have been somewhat surprised. I did think they were going to be better.
Yeah.
I did think they were going to be better. I have been a Randall, observer. I was, since Kentucky.
Yep.
He caught my eye. I liked him. Barrett, last year he was, because he's carrying a chip on his shoulder. I love this. He's still talking about it. They're still writing headlines about it in the Post about Barrett's snub from the all-rookie team. Hey, it's April the year after.
What are we doing?
Well, but guess what? Whatever fuels people, right, Jeff?
Right. Agreed.
Whatever fuels them. I mean,
Absolutely.
people, athletes, how many countless athletes have we seen that have manufactured bogus nonsense as motivational chips? If that's what they need, right? That's their right, I suppose. So anyway, he's still showing the world, and fine. But they're playing Thibodeau defense. They're playing a defense worthy of a Thibodeau team.
And Randall has just been so darn good.
I mean, who knows? I must say, I certainly didn't envision triple doubles out of him.
I don't think. I mean, again, listen, I remember seeing Julius Randle. So he was on the AU circuit the same time as Wiggins and Jabari Parker. And I love Julius Randle. I just felt like he was that matchup nightmare. He wanted to be a three. He was really more, to me, I always felt like he was more of a 4, more of, and now it doesn't matter what you are. Right now, it's kind of irrelevant at this point what you are. But I mean, averaging 23, 11, and 6 for a team that's winning. Like, again, if it's for a team that's won 10 games, you'd be like, it doesn't. But they've won enough games that those aren't empty stats by any means.
No, they're not. No. So that good. I know it's a cliche, but I'm a believer that if New York's good, it's good for the league. I really believe it. I think it's always because they're the ultimate polarizer. They get people revved up. People hate or love New York.
No, it is great for the league.
You need a team. You got a team that everybody loves to hate who are good. That's great for the league.
Yes.
And so I'm welcoming them back into the discussion. That's great, I think. And if we had and you imagine the Garden would be rocking right now if they had the 19-5. This team would have them rocking. And
they'll be in at least the playoff, whatever the play-in, right? They're going to be in the play-in. I mean, they're, what is it? So 7 through 10 right now. I mean, they're 6 games up, 4 in the loss column. So 5 overall against the Bulls, who are 10, 7 games, full games up on Toronto, who's the 11th seed. So they're definitely going to be in that playoff play-in.
Speaking of, you put a thought in my head that speaking of positionless players, but speaking of phenomenon, Zion of late.
It's unbelievable. Why aren't they winning more? Bob, why aren't they? I can't understand. I know they're in the West. They're 25 and 29. I just can't believe they're not winning more games.
Well, I mean, they got them, they got Ingram, and then come on, how many guys would you? I'm just saying, I'm a big Ingram guy, but I don't know. I don't have the answer. I gotta watch. I should try to watch him get a little more and find out. But all I know is what this guy's doing lately, and now that he's on the ball. I mean, but I love, because me in the 3, I love seeing box scores 16 and 6, 38, which means he didn't have any threes,
right?
And stuff like, I love that. But
I mean, they got Lonzo, who's had a good year.
Lonzo, yeah.
I mean, he's had a good season. Bledsoe, I don't know. I've always said when they got him, I don't think Bledsoe and Lonzo fit well together. But Ingram, Zion, pretty good point guard duo of Lonzo and Bledsoe. Steven Adams up front, who doesn't need the ball, doesn't want the ball. I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty solid starting 5. Like, wouldn't you rather have that starting 5 over the New York Knicks starting 5?
Well, you'd think so, yeah, especially with Zion, and yeah.
Just wonder, they got to get more shooting probably around. That's what I've always said. That was kind of the big thing for me with Zion, is whatever team and that's why I like JJ Redick on New Orleans.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Zion's not a floor spacer at all. You better have, especially if you have Zion and Lonzo out there together. Now, Lonzo's gotten better with his perimeter shot, but neither one are like threats from the perimeter. They can lay off them. So you have those 2 out there. The other 3 guys better be able to shoot the hell out of the basketball. And if you're David Griffin, the GM, you've got to further kind of construct this team in that manner, or move Lonzo.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Yeah. Well, anyway, everything that, let's put it this way, this far into his career, Zion's hardly a disappointment. he is the sparks fly off him, in a way that few players do. And, he's appointment TV.
Yeah. I mean, he is, and he was supposed to be. How about this past year's top of the draft, Bob? And I crushed it. I said it was going to be a bad draft, and everybody pretty much agreed with me. The top, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo, James Wiseman. It just wasn't a great draft at the top. They've been pretty good. They've been better than people thought. Anthony Edwards, again, putting up numbers for not a great team, but he's playing better than I thought. LaMelo was terrific before he got hurt. And same thing with, Wiseman had started to fall off a little bit, but I thought he was solid early on in his career before he got hurt, and he might be done for the year.
Do we believe that Anthony Edwards has never heard of Alex Rodriguez.
Yes. I was talking to my daughter about that this morning, and my daughter's like, I heard of A-Rod. I'm like, yeah, but like, if you don't follow baseball at all, I mean, and you don't care about the A-Rod and J-Lo thing, like you're not paying attention to that.
Well, A-Rod's been retired long enough, 5 years. But then Anthony Edwards tells us he was a baseball player. And
you can be a baseball player without watching the game.
He said he was a player. Yeah, I know. And, his claim, what validation there is. He said he played 4 positions. He pitched, played center field, shortstop, blah, blah, blah. Said I could have been MLB. He knows that phrase anyway. Well,
Anthony Edwards is probably 19. When was A-Rod's last year? Probably, how many years ago did A-Rod
21,
finish?
16, 15. I think 15, no? Where was the year after Mariano, I believe, or was it
A-Rod,
I don't know. Anyway.
He's 45 now. He's 45. His last year was in 2016. Yeah,
16, right.
He didn't play a lot. His last good year was 15.
So Edwards is within 14. Anyway, it was good talk show and podcast fodder. Thank you, Anthony.
No doubt. Yes, it definitely did that. It was one of those where you scratch your head and you have these conversations. Like,
what about him? No, all right. What about him? What can we surmise about him right now?
Listen, he's exceeded my expectations. I didn't think he'd be this good, but he's a freak of nature. I mean, he is big, strong, super athletic, streaky shooter. He's a guy that, again, I'd like to see, what he can do in his career if he's going to be able to affect winning. That's my biggest thing. And it's not his fault right now. I mean, obviously, you're talking about a lot of people don't think Karl Anthony Towns can affect winning. So, when you're looking at right now, the construction of their roster, you're saying to yourself, all right, like, you can't blame it on Anthony Edwards that they're getting their brains beaten in every game. But, you look at it and I'm definitely surprised. He's averaging now 18. Is that right? 18 a game.
Yeah.
18 a game. He's shooting 31 from 3. 4.5 rebounds, which you knew he'd be a good rebound. He's not a big time passer. But if he can get that shot to where he makes it consistently, Bob, he can
isn't that about what people thought he would be at the 3? He's, and we have to assume he's going to get in the gym,
That's the key. That'll be the key for Anthony Edwards. Are you a worker? If you're a worker and you can bring that 31 up to 37, then you're going to be a hell of a player.
Yeah. But that was the book. That was the book on him
100%
to begin with, right?
100%. Yes. Yeah. And are you going to guard? Because you're capable. You're fully capable of being a really good defender. Are you going to be a consistently locked down guy that takes pride in their defense? But again, Edwards has been good. LaMelo was great, right? I mean, LaMelo was really good. And again, Wiseman was, like when he played, he was pretty good.
One guy that every once in a while that just jumps out, Zach LaVine. Some of the games.
I was so wrong on him. So wrong. Like, I did not see that happening at all.
All I remember is when I first saw him in UCLA as a freshman, and you could see the athleticism, you could see the sparks.
And he shot.
And I said, "Please, God, don't let him come out yet." Right. I just remember that because he needs a little more polish and maturity and so forth. But you could see there was a really good raw talent there, and some, he's had some tremendous games. Oh, here's a guy. I'll just throw this out there because you tell me what, how far back you go, whatever. Yeah. He had a 44-point game tonight. Gary Trent Jr.
Did not see this one coming.
Where did that come from?
No clue this was coming. I didn't know if he'd make it in the league. That's one that at Duke, he didn't do much. I mean, he was kind of buried. But yeah, I did not see this one coming at all with Gary Trent Jr., but he's been good. I mean, listen, he can really shoot it. and he was on I don't know if a good Duke team is the right word, but maybe a little bit of a dysfunctional Duke team, and that probably played into it a little bit, but he's got size. He could shoot the ball. Just shows you how much talent there is in the NBA that a guy like that.
I'll give you another name, Chris Boucher. He scored 38 one night.
Yeah. Super talented, long, athletic. But again, nobody knew he had this skill level. So yeah, no, it's actually fun for me to see those guys kind of come out of nowhere. A lot of guys that you're not sure are going to make the league. Yeah. And, it just shows you, especially this year. I've talked to a bunch of NBA guys and they say this year's harder than in the bubble. This year's much harder because in the bubble, they were all together.
Yeah.
They weren't worried about anything all that much because it couldn't go anywhere. Now they worry about every little thing they do, tested twice a day.
Really?
In many cases. So there's just a lot more to worry about this year for these guys. Like I said, last year, the guys that were in the bubble were playing and it was just them. It was just them. Like, they couldn't go anywhere. They were on lockdown. Now you're not on lockdown. So every decision you make, you got to be aware. All right. Well, listen,
before we go, I want to take note of, on the record for us on the podcast, a truly beloved giant of Indiana basketball passed away.
Yeah.
You understand, and I think, and I understand what it would mean to be a basketball icon in Indiana, as opposed to being a basketball icon in North Dakota
anywhere
or New Jersey
else.
or Texas or Missouri or that's the state religion, and few people were as I guess the word is beloved, is loved in Indiana over the last 60 years, starting with high school in Terre Haute, winning the NCAA championship in 1953 by making the big free throws that won the game, and then going on to the career with the Pacers, where he was the face of the Pacers for all those years, and then becoming a much loved announcer. Boom, baby, on those threes. I know what Bob Leonard meant. I think I know what Bob Leonard meant, Slick Leonard meant in Indiana. And so my condolences to the family and the whole basketball community, which means the state of Indiana, for the passing of Bob Slick Leonard.
Yep. All right. Well, we will see you next week. I'm off to figure out who the next coach of my alma mater, Arizona, will be.
Yes, you got an important task.
Figure it out. I don't know who it's going to be. It sounds like it's either Josh Pastner or Tommy Lloyd. Those are the two names right now that are heavy in the mix. So I'm going to go work that right now and see if I can break that. And we will see you next week on the Ryan and Goodman podcast.